Hello everyone, Brad Johnson here, and in this video I'm going to be doing the top 5 for November of 2016 with Adronis. Question number 1. Adronis, what is happening to the US now that Trump is elected president? And what can we do to restabilize our country? We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. We will elaborate on the first question as what you know as your Donald Trump. What is going to happen now that he has been elected president? Let us cover this portion of the question first, before we move on to the second half. The understanding truly is that the president-elect that you know as Donald Trump has been voted in via popular vote. And this is primarily what we have stated in a session in months past, that the candidate that would relate to that who is receiving the United States election would basically be one that is voted by from the people. And that is primarily what has happened here. Understand that Donald Trump basically represents the current configuration as it represents your collective consciousness through your United States of America. Now, he has, in that sense, a very important task that is ahead of him. Now, many, of course, may not be very much in support with his energies, as he has represented, shall we say, a fear-based vibration in regards to what is understood as your campaign, and that many people are highly dwelling on this aspect of a fear-based campaign, and they are, therefore, being very retaliating in result. We will state that your Donald Trump, in regards to his election, is not something that has been made by accident. He is an important figurehead for the collective consciousness at this time. There is much work for him to do as what you would term him to be as your president-elect and your next president of the United States. There will be certain forms of issues, yes, pertaining to his agendas that quite a few will not agree with. But the whole idea in that sense is we would state it as, shall we say, having a type of house cleaning behind the scenes take place as he is moving into this presidency responsibility. There is a lot that he is going to bring forward. We would state that the feelings for him right now will not be as intense as the months ahead. There will be certain forms of energies that he will commit to that will surprise many of you. We will say that again. There will be many energies that he will commit to that will surprise many of you, because much in regards to his representation through what you would know as the campaign trail, basically in most senses will be nullified, which means that the type of individual that he is will be, shall we say, changed in the personification of what he commits to through action. We would actually say that he would be one of your most prolifically action-based presidents out of all of them. Now, that is basically stating in regards to his intention, his passion to actually bring forward transformation through your country. That is not to say that all of you are going to agree with his ideals. And of course, you do not have to, because we will be elaborating that in just a few moments. The whole key here in that sense is that he has been brought into the collective to perform certain tasks that must be set forward. This is not a maybe here. He has been brought forward into this presidential responsibility to put forward these forms of intentions to help, shall we say, refine certain areas within your governments. his actions will actually bring about greater exposure. His actions will actually relate to many of you to connect deeper, whether you are in agreement with his policies or not. The whole idea is that there is an arrangement that is taking place, a crystallization that is taking place for those of you who may not like him and for those of you who are supporting him. Regardless, his actions will warrant the idea of recrystallization into much of the American culture, which has been very much lacking. He will actually be able to have a very large opportunity to set this in place. Now, it is challenging to state at this time if his particular presidency is short-lived. That really, in that sense, is up in the air at this time. This all depends in regards to what he can accomplish and what he is meant to accomplish as this figurehead as it pertains to your presidency. Now, again, we know that many of you have been upset that Donald Trump, this entity, has actually been given presidency through the idea of election. Accept what has taken place. Again, as we've stated, he will perform certain tasks that many of you will be surprised about. And that is, in that sense, very, very important to understand here. Again, the whole idea is not looking into the aspect of arrogance, or the aspect of ego, or the aspect of fear, but being able to see him in regards to the constituting of his actions and what he is actually bringing out. For in that sense, this is a necessity, a building block that is important for your American culture at this time. But in regards to his actions, this will bring reunification to the area of Russia, to the area of China, even eventually to the point, at some degree, Mexico, Canada, other particular forms of countries that are looking to reconcile different forms of relationships as it pertains to the United States. Now, many of you will be saying, well, Adronis, are you crazy? He just said that he wanted to build a wall between the United States and Mexico. Yes, he did. But this is in no way going to really injure the relationships. It is the idea in that sense that this is actually going to create crystallization. It is surely not evident at this particular time, but this will actually create much more of a harmonized relationship between many different countries that have, in that sense, quote-unquote, had it in for the United States for quite some time. The United States is eventually going to be brought back on the map as a reputable country. That is exactly his goal. That's what he's attempting to do. This is necessary if you are looking to bring yourselves together as a unified culture, is to actually have all countries together working as one. And in 2017, the year of connection, these are the building blocks, the first steps to making this happen. Now again, we're not saying for you to full out believe us or full out agree with us, and that's fine. But nonetheless, these are the energies as they are being read right now, as it pertains to your President-elect Trump. We will now move on to the second question. What can we do to restabilize the United States of America? As we have stated, the aspect of your own liberation does not come from an appointed leader. The aspect of your liberation comes from the development of an inner republic. It is not about feeling that you must put all of your eggs in one basket as it represents your current aligned democracy. Now understand that again, Donald Trump is doing what he feels needs to be done in regards to this recrystallization effect. He is part of mechanics that represent a collective nature. That does not mean that you must follow through in the idea of blindly, or in that sense, narrowly focusing your energy upon the aspect that he is going to solve all of your problems. That is impossible. The only way that you're ever going to develop yourselves is when you fulfill an establishment of an inner republic, which means that you are taking responsibility for everything. You are opting out of systems that you feel are created to taking care of you. You are opting out of the degrees of influences that you feel you require outside of yourself to feel fulfilled. When you give in to those particular demands and you opt into them and you surrender your power and you become obedient, you will not be able to create a harmony as it relates to those systems. So what we are saying here is create an established inner republic. That is how it works. As you work together with this way, as you move into the alignment of what these energies represent, you will therefore discover others that are also creating their own inner republics, their own inner sanctums. This is where you need to see the world as your playground rather than just your country. Being able to see what best represents my energies that can allow a fulfillment of an inner republic to be developed. That may not be within the area, the vicinity that you are in. It may relate to the idea of relocation. It may relate to the idea in that sense of having a true transformation of theme that is complementing your life. We are not saying that you need to completely, shall we say, detach or withdraw yourself from the idea of a modern society. But if you feel that the modern society itself, in all of its systems and all of its complexes, are not representative of the energies of you moving into an inner republic, an inner sanctum, we are recommending that. It is all about realizing exactly what is here on your planet, not here in your country. So the whole idea about forming an inner republic is the key. Doing everything within your life that serves you. Working responsibility, working love, taking action on those particular accounts, and being able to generate something that truly is a nexus of what serves you in health, in prosperity personally, in the idea of what you would consider to be in service professionally, but truly just in service to the state of expression. Performing all of these to the letter. Do not concern yourself about what the collective consciousness is going through. It is only a living mirror to tell you more about yourself. When you are unsettled with somebody else, when you are unsettled with an event, with a situation that is unfolding, it is telling you in regards to your own alignment what needs to be adjusted. What emotions you are still holding on to that creates the stagnancy for this particular situation to come forward in the impact it has in the first place. So the inner republic that represents yourself is the only way that you will ever discover harmony. Harmony cannot be brought forward by somebody else. It cannot be brought forward through a system. It cannot be brought forward collectively as something that you must subscribe to externally. The collective is only showing you reflections through you to react to, so that you can therefore govern and decide what you feel is appropriate in regards to the necessary changes to moving you into an energy that serves inner republic understanding. So that is the whole key here. What can you do to restructure your own country in that way? By not seeing yourselves limited to the degree of a country, but seeing yourselves as human beings on planet Earth, and that you are recrystallizing yourselves by being honest with yourselves. That when emotions are running wild and you are not able to see clarity, work with those emotions. Let the emotions out. Let them be expressed. Let them align you to the degree that you feel is truly complementary to helping your crystallization in your own unique way to truly be prosperous. That is the understanding. What will be the result of the animal's condition as we move into fourth density? As in, will there be a habitable environment for them as we move through this shift? We thank you very much for your question. As it relates to your animals and their particular condition, as it were, the whole idea is that when you are shifting earths, when you are moving into this facilitation of energy that is moving you from a third to fourth density nexus, the degree of the animal consciousness really will have no resistance to moving themselves into the alignment that is appropriate. Will they have habitable zones in regards to, shall we say, a prosperous atmosphere, a prosperous environment? When you're moving deeper into fourth density, the aspect of pollution that you are aware of will start to be on a great state of decline. So in any particular event where you're moving through this third and fourth density transformation, is that through both realities, through both dimensions, the aspects of nature, the aspects of the cleanliness of it, the aspects of reducing pollution is already starting to move itself into a transitory effect. So that when you actually move into a fourth density Earth, it will truly have a great decline as it pertains to the idea of any forms of pollutions or toxicity that will actually cause the animals in that sense to be, shall we say, at risk. Now, the animals in that sense have a much more natural, symbiotic relationship with the planet. They are not in any particular way in jeopardy as it pertains to an advancement, as moving into a trans-dimensional shift. They are in that sense already one with nature. In fact, we would say that the vegetation, that the animals themselves would be one of the first to actually move in transition from third to fourth density, simply because they are always symbiotic. And yes, their atmosphere, their environment will still be a very beautiful one. In fact, again, it will represent a greater reduction as it pertains to environmental contamination. So you will still be interacting together with an animal population, absolutely. In fact, many different forms of animal consciousness that have had a great deal also of interaction with the human condition are graduating themselves from being second density animal consciousness to third density human consciousness, and even in that sense fourth density human consciousness in this particular way. This has been happening for quite some time. But basically in that sense, to those who have been animals in consciousness, that they are moving into this fourth density shift, many of them will also have the opportune nature to connect to fourth density intelligence, should they decide to do that. Because again, animals are very pure souls. Your babies, your young children are very pure souls. Vegetation on your planet are very true and pure souls. All of these particular elements have the opportunity to move forward into a fourth density nexus. As we have stated, when you are a soul and you are looking to incarnate on this planet, you therefore have the selection of existing within first, second, third, and fourth density life. That's all part of your choosing based upon the vibratory connections that you hold that best serve your experience. So therefore, the aspect of environmental conditions itself will be therefore palpable to the point of continued contact, continued connection through the idea of first, second, third, and fourth density transient life that will still continue prosperously as it always has been. We thank you for the question. Adronis, who is the ancient builder race? We thank you very much for your question. There is no ancient builder race. There are ancient builder races. Now this is basically what we have elaborated on in a, shall we say, presentation past, is that the whole idea is that there are ancient builder races that have contributed to different degrees as it represents life upon your planet. These particular races basically represent a conjunction to much of the life that you see upon your planet. It is just not the idea of what you would know as only looking at human life. There certainly is an association to a group that had been responsible in regards to your procreation as it relates to a human race, a human genome. But the whole idea really, again, is that you're looking at plant life, you're looking at animal life, you're looking at the extensions to all the beautiful elements, environments of nature, and all of that life. Those all have corresponding creators. So the aspect is that you have a plethora of ancient builder races that have actually come here and been able to appropriately seed the planet with appropriate life to which Mother Earth has dictated. So the whole key here in regards to how life begins is, shall we say, through the proverbial screening process that Mother Earth herself desires. She is basically the filter to say, these are the types of life forms that I would like to have in this type of compartment as it represents my life matrix. Here's another compartment to my life matrix. Here's another compartment to my life matrix. Here's another compartment to my life matrix. Therefore, all of these particular beings are sent the aspects of calls and summonings, and that they will therefore respond in saying, wow, this certainly seems exciting. We would be very happy to share the aspects of our own biological data with the degree and the compartmentalization of Mother Earth's matrix. And so much of the inner stewards that are existing within your subterranes of Earth are actually these particular librarians. They are also these keepers, as it represents the information as it pertains to the biology, energetics, ecosystem, and more that allows your Earth to be your Earth. Now understand that this entire star system would be more so in regards to the earlier precursors of what you would know as the insectoid races. These would basically be the understanding that this entire star system is what you would know as insectoid domain. Now there are several different planets that exist within what you would know as your Oort cloud. All of these particular planets contain much more of a majority of life within the insectoid inhabitants. So many of the insectoids in that sense are actually quote-unquote hanging around the Oort cloud and actually being able to observe from afar the facilitation of actually sharing much in regards to their star system. Because much in regards to the domains of all the planets that exist within this star system have been under insectoid domain. So they are basically the first that you would understand in regards to the cultivation of planets, because much in regards to the aspect of facilitators, caretakers of biological life begins with your insectoid kingdom. They are what you would know as the oldest and most prolific forms of life found on your planet, other than to the degrees of the elements. So this is basically what you would consider to be some type of primordial ancient builder races that do comprise of that aspect. And many other different forms of life forms came later, from your idea of your reptilians, from the idea in that sense of amphibious life, aquatic life, and of course eventually moving into mammal and human life. Again, these all correspond to appropriate states of creator beings that have therefore brought their own intelligences of seeds to be spawned upon the world. So it is more so appropriate to saying that the ancient builder races are those who truly exist. Now, many of them in that sense really do not have names. You are actually starting to notice that those of you who are in communication with many different forms of extraterrestrials, these are the ancient ones. These are the ones in that sense that have helped to seed all life upon the planet, not just the idea of what you would refer to as the Anunnaki or the Elohim in that way. Those again do not represent to a personal civilization, but groups of civilizations. When you're looking at the Anunnaki, that is a group-based civilization. When you're looking at the aspect of an Elohim, that is an aspect of a group-based civilization. That is how it works. So, in the answer to your question, there are many different ancient builder races. But the primordial aspect of those ancient ones would begin with your insectoid races. We thank you very much. Is it true that the large solar event that has been prophesied to happen will involve the sun going completely black, where there will be several days of darkness? We thank you very much for your question. We will simply state this. There are solar transitions that will start to become more intense as the years go by. Now, this is not something that is imminent. This is not something that is meant to happen in regards to, shall we say, a profound intensity that will leave many of you in fear. Quite the contrary. The aspect is that everything is being done in phases. So the aspect is that, yes, there will be certain forms of coronal mass ejections that will continue to happen, that will thin out your magnetic field. That's all part of the process in regards to, shall we say, the enrichment factor. As your planet goes through different forms of polarized shifts, as it moves back into certain forms of polarized shifts the idea of the magnetic field itself will, shall we say, turn in a certain way, and will eventually be able to be replenished after the, shall we say, conclusion of much of these essential solar events that are delivering codes to the planet. Now, in regards to the aspect of stating, is it true that the sun will actually go black? Highly unlikely. No. It is more so in the idea of feeling that many of these solar transitions will eventually create a greater abruption as it relates to the aspects of your auras, or your auroras in that way, as you term them. Your Earth auroras themselves will become much more intense, will become much more wider in disbursement. Through the aspect of this taking place may have what you would know as the shortness of the day. So basically what you would know as a shortness of time in regards to sunrise and sunset, to where there will be shorter days in regards to the aspect of light. But in regards to the aspect of, shall we say, a solar cycle that will relate to the sun going completely black, no, extremely unlikely. The reason being is because your sun has been going through definite states of negotiation, and the aspect of the solar blackout in that way has only been defined as a probability. Many within your own, shall we say, secret programs have felt that this is a fact, when in fact this is not what has been said. This is not what has been stated. The aspect in regards to the degree of a solar blackout was only an aspect of a probability. It certainly did exist in one particular timeline, but it is sensing right now that this will be more unlikely. That is not to say that you will not go through some very, very intense shifts, and you will notice the intensity of the shifts as you look into your planet's aura or its aurora developments. When you're noticing that there is a greater magnitude of auroras, this is giving you much more of the bridge that is connecting to deeper levels of fourth density, moving you more deeper into the ocean of fourth density. Now, as we stated, this will be about a 50 to 100 year process of going much deeper into fourth density. It is not something that is quote-unquote birthed overnight. This is again something that has never been done before. And so the whole idea really is that yes, solar transitions will happen, but it is extremely, extremely unlikely that there is any particular form of solar blackout, simply because in regards to the ideas of the coronal mass ejections that are taking place, for it to actually have what you would know as a internal coronal ejection of such magnitude, that would basically relate to, shall we say, much more of a disastrous situation that could actually, in that sense, inflict a great deal of damage upon your planet, more so than what is required. That is not to say that at certain times within your history that such events did take place, but you have moved into a very different density structure at this time. You have moved into new cyclical events that are moving you more so into the idea of transitional timelines that work together more in service as you gradually move yourself along throughout the belt, throughout the loop, as it pertains to extra-dimensional, transitional shifting from one density into another. That is primarily what is taking place. We thank you. Question number 5. What is one's true role as part of a collective consciousness? As in, what is the differentiation between a self and a collective? We thank you very much for your question. Understand that when you're looking into the aspect of a self and the aspect of a collective, we have basically stated that when you are looking at things from a collective point of view, there is no involvement whatsoever. You are incapable of stimulating a collective consciousness. That is not your role, simply because there are, shall we say, many sums of the parts that make up the whole. And it is not one particular person's responsibility to shift the aspect of a collective consciousness situation. Well, some people may say, well, what about these really anointed people throughout history? The aspects of Napoleon, the aspects of Hitler, etc. Didn't they themselves shift the direction of the collective consciousness? No, they did not. Because they all required co-creative association in order for them to have what they would know as their basis of power. It all represented into the aspect of influences that came together and showed that groups were coming together as a whole to basically create a stronger influence in regards to the aspects of energies on a creative level that move them into such dichotomies that has been moved through your own history lines. But the whole key here in that sense is that not one person is responsible for the direction of a collective consciousness. It cannot be done. It has never been done. So the whole idea here is that when you're looking at things as a collective, you are a watcher. You are one who is observing. You are not getting involved in affairs. So the aspect of those who are, shall we say an example, in spirit, do not get involved with internal affairs. Many of those who are extra-dimensional, who share different dimensions in reality, really do not get involved in internal affairs. And many beings do not want to have that happen. They are not interested in getting involved in the internal affairs of a civilization, because as soon as they do, they are now indeed involved, and they will have to play out that karma. So that is not the aspect when you're looking at a collective, as a watcher, as an observer. So the collective, again, is this objective mirror for you to see. Do not attempt to change it. You won't be able to. The aspect of collective movement comes through collectives. It does not come through an individual. If you truly wish to make the feeling of impacts be part of an association that you feel you're in a strong vibration with in regards to that quality, therefore together those group-based consciousnesses that continue to work together will therefore have influences because you're working on behalf of a collective, not as an individual. When you're looking now into the self therefore has a pointed direction into their own world. So your own world and everything that you associate together with has the aspect of involvement, has the aspect of interaction. So it is through the idea that through your innerness, you are providing action. So this is again why there is interaction. You are interacting with aspects of your subconscious that are helping you to govern your own world. It is not for you again to feel that you must change the world, because there is no the world that can be changed, because the world can only be witnessed. It can only be watched. It can only be observed. It can't be changed by one. Your world has the opportunity to be changed by one, and that is yourself. So we state that when there is an involvement principle that is taking place, let it therefore be projected into your own reality. What serves you? If the collective is feeling that you are getting upset because you are putting so much energy into the collective and feeling, oh, this is making me very, very anxious, this is making me very, very angry, then you need to look into the emotions within yourself as it pertains to that reflective basis of the collective, and saying to yourself, I'm holding on to this degree because this is what I felt I needed to do to move ahead, but all it's really been doing is holding me back. So I need to look into this emotion's heart. I need to allow this emotion to express itself and find out what has rooted it to a particular state of trauma that is existing within myself. Any emotional reaction that you hold, whether it be anger, anxiety, frustration, jealousy, aspects of all of those degrees and more, are all part of seated degrees of trauma. Degrees that have happened in your earlier years, in your childhood years, in your teenage years, in your young adult years. And they are all just looking to be embraced. Because when you feel that you are looking into these emotions and you are able to trace them from what the source of the trauma is telling you, the key to liberation is acceptance of it. The acceptance that that event took place, not trying to bury it under piles of dirt, but being able to look at this and saying, I was getting heavily involved emotionally because I could not accept something that has happened. I must continue to retaliate against this because this doesn't seem right, etc. It will only seem right when you are able to accept that aspect as a learning curve so that you can move yourself into a higher degree of consciousness. In this particular degree, in this plateau of consciousness, no problems exist. And so basically, the only way that you're experiencing problems is because you've moved into a dramatic, self-appointed physical density, where everything in regards to challenges on a highly emotional level are taking place as a resonance to showing you what you need to do to reflect back upon that emotion, let that emotion express itself through you, and trace the elements to the point of its source, and being able to accept that part of you. What you cannot accept bottles you into the degree of a reality that will only exist inside that container. When you are emotional, you are inside of a container. You are not existing in a very broad reality. That doesn't exist. This is your reality when you're inside an emotion. And that particular reality bottles you to the point where there are walls. And you are not allowing yourself to see what exists beyond those walls. Even if you feel that there is something that can be seen beyond the wall, you try to move and you get knocked into the wall. So the whole key here is being able to look into those emotions as a creator and discover exactly what you have placed upon yourself, seeing yourself in the highest value that you can, so that you therefore have the strength to go inside yourself and look into these source pathways that are telling you these are aspects of trauma that are holding you together in the container of reality altogether, and saying that you can't move beyond these walls. So the more that you are able to move into those and understand what they are attempting to say, because they truly are your allies. Emotions are not meant to be your enemies. But because they represent something that is awful to look at, many of you will just attempt to walk away from that, escape it, leave it behind, bury it, ignore it, and watch it build. Because no matter how much dirt, proverbially, that you may place upon that emotion, it will rise from that dirt. And it will come again much more intensely than before. Approximately 3 times more intense. So it is very, very important that you are looking into the aspects of reality, where your emotions are attempting to be the loudest that they can, and being able to notice that. Realization surrenders the emotion. Realization surrenders the trauma. Now you can look at the trauma for what it is, as a neutral mind, because you have expressed the emotion through yourself. And through that degree, you are now able to completely configure the perspectives of your reality that allow you to live the life that you feel is the most appropriate through the genuine, authentic nature of yourself. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again. Farewell for this timing, and we now return to the conduit. We'll speak to you again, as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye for now. Alright, thank you guys. So I will go ahead and wrap this up. Please feel free to visit realitywhisperer.com. Sessions, courses, free media, and a lot more. I will speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Take care. Namaste. And may it be well with you.